So big, hearty hello and welcome from Nicholas Di Castella at the Institute of Heart Intelligence. Thank you for joining us for this breakthrough session. I'm really excited to have you with us, and I'm sure that you'll get a lot of benefit from tonight. Before we dive in, I'd like to suggest to get the most from the evening, to not sit back like this is like watching the telly and you half going to sleep, but actually see if you can participate nice and actively in the chats. I'll be asking questions. I've been instructed to speed things up a little bit tonight, but if you can be there at your keyboard, then that will really help too. And I recommend, to get the most of the time that you're spending here with me tonight, to turn off Facebook and your emails and just really be present. You want a notebook and pen with you because you might get an insight, and you want to make sure that you scribble it down. And as well as that, I'll be covering a lot of points that you probably want to take notes on. Great. All right, so let's jump in here. So first of all, for those who don't know me, common question that I get is, why should I listen to you? And that's a totally reasonable question. And I'm actually a master coach, so I coach life coaches. And I coach people who are leaders in the personal development field. And I actually have the inside story on a lot of those people, and they don't necessarily all walk the talk that they teach. And so I want to just show you a bit of my background so that you know that I'm actually talking from experience. I'm not just making this up as we go. In my youth, I was an international athlete. I represented Australia 4 times in world championships. My fastest marathon was 2 hours 15, which was the 10th fastest Australian ever at that time. I spent 4 years up at the Institute of Sport in Canberra. I've got a Bachelor of Architecture. I did my thesis on the relationship between quantum physics and architecture in 1985. So that was a fair while ago. I had a house in Clifton Hill that I renovated, and we got the highest price ever in a house for a house sold in Clifton Hill when we sold it. My wife and I, we're a dynamic duo. Susan, who's on the presentation tonight as well. We've owned and built 2 townhouses, which we needed to do because we were living in our centre, which is down there on the right in Clifton Hill, and we had kids and we needed somewhere to move out to. So we owned and built these 2 townhouses, and that project went spectacularly well. And now we live on the outskirts of Melbourne in our retreat centre, which we've rebuilt up in the Dandenong Ranges rainforest. So we have a magic life. I have a beautiful family. As I said, my beautiful wife Susan is here tonight, and we are definitely a dynamic duo. We've been together for 20 years now, and we have 2 fabulous teenage boys, Charlie and Alex, that are handling the big changes in the world incredibly well. They're incredibly disciplined, and they're just great kids. So I'm really proud about that. I've been running the Institute of Heart Intelligence since 2000. So I've actually been 28 years as a coach and done over 10,000 sessions and probably done over 1,000 workshops. I've been running Passionately Alive, our Hallmark training, which is a 3.5-day workshop, for 24 years. And I calculate I've probably run about 200 of those, which if you multiply 3.5 days by 200, you come out with 7 years, 700 days, which is 2 full years, in workshop. As well as that, we train breathwork practitioners, which is a year-long training, and we've been running consecutive trainings for the last 20 years. So we're not really new on the block. We've been around and we've seen a lot. And we're very, very blessed to have a wonderful heart-centered community around us, and that share the passion for living from our heart, living life fully, living passionately, connecting and supporting, and most of all, living life significantly, making a difference in the world. So I spend a lot of time giving presentations about how to connect from our head to our heart so that we really can live life fully. So, in my opinion, you should listen to me because I've done it. You know, like I put this together and I was going, "Oh, what have I done? What have I achieved?" Because tonight, this breakthrough session is all about how to become successful and happy. And I've seen people become successful but not happy, successful and unhealthy, successful and divorced. So, successful and happy and have your whole life work, I think, is what it's really all about. So I'm speaking from experience. As I said, I coach a lot of the leaders in personal growth industry in Australia. This is a dear friend of mine, Paul Blackburn, who I've been good friends with since 1988 when he taught me my first workshop. And now he comes to see me for sessions when he gets stuck. So he refers to me as his coach. But it hasn't always been this easy. In 1985, I was involved in a head-on car accident. I was sitting in the front passenger seat here in this car, and that really turned my world upside down. I had 135 stitches in my face, I lost 5 teeth, and it just really threw me for a six. I started to suffer from anxiety after the car accident, and that led into chronic fatigue, which was really hard to cope with. I was on scholarship at the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra, and that was a really dark and difficult time for me. I've been through a divorce. I'm in my second marriage now, very happy and passionately married, which is great. But that was a very challenging time back in '97. When I was teaching relationship workshops, that didn't go down real great getting divorced, but it all built character and strength, and we moved forward from there. As I said, I was trained as an architect. I lost my passion for architecture in the early 90s when I started to get into personal growth, and I'll tell you a bit about that in a minute. I found that I had more fulfillment helping other people to grow, and as that fulfillment increased, my passion for being an architect decreased, and I ended up feeling kind of empty and soulless going to work each day. And then in 1992, I shifted from working as an architect to working in personal growth. But back then, in the mid 80s, I was desperate, and I did all the rounds of doctors and health professionals and healers and psychics. I got more and more out there trying to find answers to this chronic fatigue that I was suffering from. My big breakthrough came in 1988 when I shifted my attention from trying to work harder on the outside world, trying to find the answers out there, to looking inside. And really nobody had ever kind of pointed me in that direction, or if they had, I hadn't heard it. Anyway, I realized that in 1988 that success and happiness are really an inner game story. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this presentation tonight, is the 5 keys to really finding happiness and success. Using these things that I'm going to be sharing tonight, I learned how to heal my body. I started to achieve success with ease, and I started to run faster on less training. And that really got the attention of all my athletic friends, my competitors. So they all wanted to do the same workshop that I did. And then I started setting up the workshops in Melbourne for them to come to. And that's how I got involved in personal growth myself. Out of all of this, I've learned to create passionate, loving relationships. I do a lot of couples coaching in my work because this work is really primarily about being in relationship with ourselves first, and then bringing that connection into relationships with our partners and friends and clients. We've created financial independence, and I found my purpose on earth. So even though things got turned upside down, they've actually come out the right side up. So tonight, this is for you, and I like this little pensive parakeet here. What's your next move? And I understand that there's probably lots of reasons why people are here, but you know, the big one that we've been putting out is to create a life of significance. And when I look back on my life, it's always been an important factor is this meaningful? Is this about caring for people? Is this doing something that's bigger than just me? So if that's you and you resonate with that, that's good because you're here tonight. Maybe you've been asking yourself, what am I meant to be doing with my life? You know, what kind of legacy will I leave? Maybe you've just going through the motions 9 to 5 and it seems like there's little meaning or fulfillment in your life. It's like you're stuck in Groundhog Day. Maybe maybe you're feeling like your soul is dying a bit, that you've lost something, some connection, some spark, some aliveness that you used to have. And you might be asking yourself, how can I make the most of my life? A lot of people in these circles that we move in are passionate about living their life fully. And that's really what we help people to do, is to get those skills to be able to take their life to the next level. So I'll be sharing those tonight. How can I live a purposeful life? So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to dive in a little bit about what is a life of significance. Now, I understand that everybody's probably got a different angle on this. And so I'm a constant beginner and a constant learner. And so I'm interested in that, in what your opinion is about what makes life significant. So we're going to come to that in a second. I want to talk about the 5 different kinds of breakthroughs. There's actually, I have 7, but I've whittled it down for compactness tonight to 5. And we're going to be looking at where are you now and where do you want to be? Okay, so that's laying the groundwork, and hopefully you might have filled in that clarity sheet that was in the download link from the acceptance email that you got. If you haven't filled that in, it's not the end of the world, but I do want you to think about where you are and where you want to go, and we'll come back to that in a second. And then we're going to look at what's been holding you back, and we're going to move into the 5 keys for happiness and success. So I hope that that excites you. If it does, then you're in the right place, and you could put a little yes in there. That would be great in the chat box to know that we're really up and away here. Claire's quick on the typing there. Great, thank you, Nerida, fantastic. So I promise to share as much as I possibly can tonight. That's great, Snez, thank you. And if you like what I'm sharing tonight, then I promise that I'll show you how to take it further. Tonight, you probably picked up along the lines, is the launch of our emotional intelligence program, our EQ 101, which is a culmination of all of the biggest lessons on personal growth and empowerment strategies that I've learned in my 32 years that I've put together in an online training. So there's lots and lots in that. So let's dig in here. I'd like you to consider, and type in the chat when you're ready, what is a significant life? What are the essential ingredients for you that makes a significant life? So I'll take a breath here and sip on my cup of tea. So Amber says love. Having love as a quality that's present. She's quick on the typing. Contentment, says Nerida. Great. Helping others. Marlon, makes your life significant. Yes. So achieving love or contentment, helping others. Great. Cynthia says, living in the moment. Cynthia and Bruce are both on there together, so you might have to put a C or a B after your comment so I know who it is. Sned, health, physical and mental. Yeah, so being at our peak. And I suggest to you that, you know, making a difference in the world, the first step is to getting ourselves in top shape. So being at our best, developing an open heart. Lewis says, meaningfully for others. Great, yep. Making a difference, thank you. Yeah, fantastic. So you can keep on chatting in here and I'm going to keep moving forward. Barry, being remembered after you've gone. Yeah, thanks, Barry. Good to have you with us. And that's like leaving a legacy. What difference are you going to make in the planet? But after you've gone, what kind of an impact have you left behind, a footprint? Susie says, living my passion and purpose. Gary, enjoying what I do and knowing it does help others. So I think that's really beautiful. If we can find what we love and do that and make a difference in the world, then we're really, really rocking. Antoinette, great to have you with us again. Living congruently with who you are and leaving the world slightly better than you found it. That's really beautiful. And I totally agree that our purpose should be a natural expression of who we are. And sometimes we have to dig through some of the conditioning and the blocks that we took on growing up to find that. Fantastic. So some of the pillars while you're still thinking and maybe typing in here is being happy, feeling good about yourself, growing spiritually, I think is a really important one for me, is that when we go out of this world, that we're more kind, we're more compassionate, we're more generous, we're more grateful for our life, we're more loving. Being healthy is important. Vitality, having energy, being fit, loving, as Amber said. Thanks, Ian. Living on purposeful and being fulfilled. Yep. And achieving success, being productive, achieving your aspirations. So moving forward and we grow as we achieve our goals. So there's growth that happens. We set a goal and then we go to work on it and we have our challenges. And inevitably we have to develop skills and capabilities that we wouldn't have developed if we hadn't set that goal. Awesome. Thank you everybody for being so forthcoming on the chat. That's awesome. So let's look at 5 types of breakthrough. And if you've got a pen and pencil, you might want to write this down. So the first one is clarity, seeing where you are clearly. Now, that's a strange one in a way because it sounds like I haven't changed. But the truth is that change happens when we experience what is. What that means is that often when we really come face to face with the situation that we're in, that motivates us to do something different. And sometimes we can just bury our head in the sand, just ignore it and pretend it's going to go away. Excuse me. And so we don't shift. We just stay stuck where we are. So actually spending time mapping out, and you might have done this tonight with the clarity sheet, map out what are your 3 biggest challenges in your life and really sit with those. And that could be your breakthrough. You might have already had your breakthrough before you got to the webinar tonight. If that's you, just put a yes in the group. If you had an insight or realization coming up to this breakthrough workshop, especially if you filled in that clarity sheet. If you didn't, you might want to come back to it later. Another kind of breakthrough is having a new insight, getting a distinction. So one of the big distinctions that we work with in our emotional intelligence training at Passionately Alive is the distinction between, say, anger and self-assertion. So people often have anger and self-assertion mixed up when they think that being forthcoming and standing up for ourselves is an aggressive thing. And so they don't want to be aggressive, so then they become more passive and end up often becoming a doormat instead. So learning to make the distinction between aggression and self-assertive, even anger, self-assertive anger that's not aggressive, is a really empowering distinction to make. Sometimes those insights are about new permissions. So new permissions that overcome childhood conditioning, decisions that we made when we were young. You know, sometimes in our growing up, we make decisions like don't answer back, don't rock the boat, just make everybody else happy. And then we grow up and we live out our life doing the same thing that we did as a child to get attention and approval. And that ends up meaning that we, lose ourselves and we're not able to really shine our light fully and take a stand and express ourselves from our heart and walk the walk that we're meant to be walking. So sometimes those permissions can be really empowering. I had one guy in a session who he was a Greek young man, 35 years old, and very serious guy, very nice guy, but remembered in a breathwork session when he decided not to laugh anymore as a young boy, and grew up in a Greek family, and his mum was very stressed. When he used to laugh, she used to beat him. And so one day he decided, I'm not laughing anymore. And for the next 30 years, he was very serious, and just realizing that he made that decision was all that he needed to be able to change it. You might master some emotion. You might face a feeling that's been haunting you, and it could happen tonight. There's a lot of emotion around now that the lockdown is easing up. I'm noticing that a lot of people are relaxing a little bit in their bodies, and with the end in sight, even though it's going to roller coast, we know that, people are feeling a lot of emotional turmoil. And I think when we're in crisis, we often hold things together, and then at the end of the crisis is often when we fall apart. So if you've been feeling a little emotionally rocky lately, then maybe, there's some emotional turmoil coming up. And of course, we encourage you to make space to feel that and allow it to come through. And we train people in how to do that with ease and grace. So, you never know. It could be triggered for you. We had a few people shift some emotion last week in the breakthrough session. So just be aware, looking out for fear, anger, some grief, some sadness, some shame, some guilt. Something like that are often the emotions that hold us back and weigh us down. Gaining inspiration, so connecting to your heart intelligence, connect to the love and the peace and the happiness within. So that would include finding self-love, gaining higher guidance like inspiration, for congruence, so that you're in alignment in moving forward, and flow. So when you're not living and speaking your truth, you're out of integrity with yourself, and that's going to manifest in your life as struggle and conflict and hold you back. And so sometimes you might get an insight tonight about some clarity about what your deeper truth is, and that might involve you mastering your emotion by having to face up to the fear of doing that. And then the last big area is committing. Okay, so we need to commit to our life, commit to ourselves, commit to our purpose and our mission, and step forward in fear. Okay, so normally when we're stepping forward, there's fear there because we're stepping forward into unknown territory. And so emotional mastery, mastering your emotions, is all about getting bigger than them and not letting them control you. So committing and taking action may be something that happens for you tonight, that you might become more aware that you've been holding back a little bit off your edge, and something that you want to commit to move forward in your life. So I'm mapping these out towards the start of our gathering tonight, because I want you to be watching during this presentation for any of these that might pop up. And I'm going to ask you at the end what kind of breakthroughs you had tonight. And they might seem small, but they could be profound. And nobody can really kind of compare breakthroughs. It could be just a simple little insight that's been troubling you for ages, the answer to an issue. So jot those down if you get an insight, and towards the end we'll have a chance to share. So when you go on a journey, there are two things that you need to know, and tonight this might be a turning point for you. It might be putting a stick in the sand. It seems like a perfect time to do this breakthrough training and our online personal empowerment program, because we've all been in lockdown, we've all slowed down, we've all had this time to reflect, and there's been a lot of conversation about what's important to us in our life and what kind of things we want to pick up again when the lockdown is off. And hopefully people remember what we've gone through in terms of the benefits of slowing down and being present. So I think one of the big things that's happened for just about everybody is people have connected more deeply with their family and friends as well. So I had a friend ring in today, checking in to see how I was going. So where are you now is the first thing that you need to know. If you're going on a journey, you need to know where you are now. So what I would like, in as much detail as you care to share right now, what's brought you along here to this breakthrough session tonight? Where are you? What's your biggest challenge? So you could type it in as one word or a couple of sentences. It's totally fine. So this will help me to steer the evening a little bit. So if you feel okay about sharing, that would be great. So just let me know, what's the biggest challenge in your life for where you are now? What's brought you along here tonight? Could be health, relationships. Gary, thanks. Not really knowing where I want to be, what I really want. Thank you for being the first one in. Congratulations, Snez, to actually do all the practice necessary. Yeah, so maybe a breakthrough might be realizing what's stopping me from doing that. Good, Barry, social disconnectedness. Great to have you with us, Barry, and connecting. Yeah, I think we should be calling it physical isolation and social connection. Lewis being stuck professionally, financially, and emotionally. Yes, thank you for sharing. Susan, getting back in touch with my courage to go out once this is over. Claire, Amber, Claire, I think I can only see your messages. So righto. So Claire, you'll have to message everyone when you share. Thanks, Amber. Yeah. So getting the courage to go out and live life fully. Fantastic. All right. So feel free to just keep going, typing in there while we're going. If you're on the phone, typing in, finger typing. I drive Charlie nuts by doing one finger typing on my phone. He looks around to make sure none of his friends are watching. And then the second thing you need to know is where you want to go. All right, so this could be a breakthrough for you, so listen in closely. Often, when we've got a situation that we don't like, we kind of obsess about what's wrong with it and where we are stuck, and we don't ask ourselves, what is it that I do want? Where do I want to go? All right, so this is the second part of this question, is what's the destination that you want to reach? Great, so Bruce, to reconnect more deeply with the passion of living. Fantastic, so that's a great answer. Where do you want to go? So anyone who typed in a problem, a challenge that you're facing, what would the positive side of that be if you got it? Now that's really important, because where we focus our attention, we are actually adding energy to that thing. And so it's really important that we focus our attention where we want to go rather than where we don't want to go. Whoops. So, for instance, if you've got anxiety, then we want to focus on the opposite of anxiety, which would, for most people, be peace and calm and at ease, something like that. So Barry says the path to happiness. That's a fantastic goal. Right, so let's just keep going now. So you want to think about that because it's like putting an order into the universe. What is it that you'd like to experience? And if you haven't typed it into the chat, that's totally fine. Just want you to sit with that and get clear about those two questions. Where are you now? And where do you want to go? So if you need to work on that a little bit, totally okay. But definitely worth spending some time focusing on. In the EQ 101 program, that's like the foundation for it. So we get people to focus where they are, and more importantly, what's a goal that you'd like to achieve? And then we spend 7 weeks working on that from 5 different angles that I'm going to come to in a second. So we're looking at what's holding you back, all right? So let me talk about these 5 blocks to happiness and success. So the first one is being out of touch, okay? So being unaware. So many of us in our culture are really busy. We live very busy lives, and we don't spend a lot of time connecting inside. And as a consequence of that, it's very easy to not notice what's going on, be distracted from it, not really connecting to ourselves and to the people around us. And many of us have grown up most of our life doing this, and so we get more and more out of touch, and we lose more and more connection to our inner knowing, to our intuition. And that can happen from ignorance. So that could happen just because nobody's ever taught us how to master our emotions. Nobody's ever taught us how to connect to our heart intelligence. Nobody's ever taught us how to use our mind in a positive way. The amazing thing about our life is it didn't come with an instruction book. And when we go to school, we learn geography and history and mathematics, but we don't learn how to be happy and successful. It's a weird, weird thing. So most of us are just replaying the patterns that our parents played out. And personal growth is all about becoming a conscious creator rather than a subconscious creator. And a subconscious creator is just playing out the patterns that we inherited over and over. Denial is another level of being out of touch or unaware. So blame, denying our responsibility, our ability to respond, not owning that because of shame or guilt often, and then projecting that into blame and getting stuck in victimhood, where we're powerless because other people have done it to me. Probably said enough about this. It can be a little hard to swallow at times, but good medicine. The second big block that you want to look into is a negative mindset. And in my mind, there's 2 parts to this. And the first one is having a busy, racing mind that stops us from being able to focus, stops us from being able to sleep well, that stops us from being able to just find peace in our head. And this chatty mind is a symptom of the anxiety that we live in our culture. Susan's saying that you can't see the screen. Is that the whole time through? Is that the whole time through? Or it just shifted to that? Sorry, I hope not. Are we back? Can you see the screen? Yes, awesome. Okay, thank God, Cynthia's seen it all the time. Keep breathing. All right, thank you. Okay, Susan said it's just happened. All right, I did turn off the email program while I was talking, and I think it might have probably switched over there. All right, great. So negative mindset. The second thing is having limiting beliefs. I can't. Putting caps on what we believe is possible. And I can tell you from my own life that I live such a blessed life that I never would have imagined possible. We live on 7 acres of rainforest. It's only just over half an hour out of the city, the center of the city of Melbourne. It's a miracle. And it's absolutely amazing. And so many of us are beaten before we start. And we don't know how to use our mind in a positive, creative way that empowers us to get what we want. So we do all the work, we do all the right things, like I used to do in my athletics, but don't get the results that we deserve for all the work that we put in. So the third piece then is repressed emotion. So repressed emotion drives anxiety and stress, addictions, compulsions. They get in the way of us achieving the success that we need to achieve. So this is a big part of our work. Emotions are energy, and they are there in our life to empower us to get what we want, but nobody has been taught how to use our emotions in a creative way, how to use anger in a relationship to deepen the level of intimacy, how to understand the good purpose of fear and channel that so that we can perform at a better level, how to use sadness to be able to open our heart, connect more deeply, and find more beauty in the world. So most of us have been taught this false idea that repressing emotion is a sign of strength, and in fact, it's actually a sickness, and it will cause a physical disease in our body. So it's a big issue that we need to learn, and that's a big area that what we specialize in. So keeping your heart closed is another major block for us, and we start off with our heart open and the world is wonderful, and then we get hurt and we shut down and we become closed-hearted, we become bitter, cynical, resentful, pessimistic. It's a big thing, and the heart's like this most tender part of us, I'd say, and it's like an amoeba with tentacles that come out, and if you stick a little stick into an amoeba, it pulls all its tentacles in, and then after a while they come back out. And if you do it again, they go back in, and then after a while, they don't come out so far anymore. And I think we're a bit like that we start off with our heart so open to life, and then we get hurt and we close down and we pull back, and then we open up again, but not quite as much, and then we get hurt and we close down, and we get hurt and close down. And so often growing up is about closing down instead of opening up. And so when we learn how to process the hurt, then that enables us to keep our heart open and stay connected to the juice of life. I'm going to talk about the flip side of these 5 things in a second. And then the last thing is being procrastinating, being reactive, not being proactive, not charting the course that we want to live, but actually just bouncing off everything that's going around us. Being disorganized, pushing, using willpower to get things done, which comes from our head and drives us. And the scientific research is showing that willpower is a limited resource, that we run out of willpower. And the complement to that is to come from our heart, to connect to our heart and use our inspiration to motivate us to do what we love. So that's the key to really achieving success with joy and ease. I'm actually on the smallest belt hole of my on my pants. I lost 6 kilograms last year because I've been training with Charlie, our 18-year-old, and I figured out that as he's getting fitter, it's getting harder and harder for me to keep up with him. And I figured out that the best way to keep up with him would actually be to lose a bit of weight, because I was 96 kilograms and he's like 70 kilograms. So I'm like 20 kilograms heavier, which is like carrying a bag of cement on my back trying to keep up with him. And so the point is that the weight just fell off me when I decided this, because there was a deeper motivation, which was to spend the quality time with Charlie running in the forest up here, which was the highlight of my year last year. And so the weight just fell away. And it came about because I had a genuine heart-centered reason for wanting to lose the weight. So that's the key. So now I want to go through the other side, the flip side to these 5 blocks, and look at the 5 keys to happiness and success. Now, in my opinion, every single successful and happy person has some level of competency about these 5 things. Each of these keys is one of the modules in EQ 101. So I'll talk about that later, but just so that you know, this is how it's all structured. So the first key is self-awareness. And I talked a little bit about that. Self-awareness is learning to recognize what you're feeling, why you're feeling it. So understanding when I'm feeling, say, recognizing I'm feeling a bit angry or a bit grumpy, and understanding what is it that's driving that. And then understanding what's the good purpose of that anger. So what is the good purpose of anger, just to keep everyone on their toes here? Type in the chat there. Those who've done some work with us probably know. What's the good purpose of anger? I keep talking about anger tonight, but I'd like to say I'm not angry, but maybe passionate. Anybody out there? Any passionately live graduates there? What's the good purpose of anger? Action. Yes, great. Yes. Yes, to facilitate change. Awesome. Yes, say what we want and what we don't want, to set our boundaries. Beautiful. Lewis, push you to improve. Yes, great. Opportunity to change, says Cynthia. Yes, give you the energy to do what you need to do. They are all fantastic examples. Great, thank you. Cynthia feels, Bruce says it feels good. It feels good to be able to get in there and feel that power and that energy and learn how to channel it in these healthy ways to assert ourselves. Fantastic. So all of our emotions have a good purpose. And then the 4th step in self-awareness, in emotional literacy, is to be able to communicate what you're feeling in words, because emotions are feelings that are not quantifiable. So you have to kind of learn a new language to be able to communicate your feelings. And the studies show the people that are more self-aware are able to recognize and understand and empathize other people's feelings better as well. So just quickly, what's the benefits of having greater self-awareness? Anybody can type in there. Any benefit that you reckon would come from this in any of these 4 areas: health, relationships, success, wealth, happiness. What's the benefit? How would that help? And I'm going to go through a couple of them while you're doing that. So in the health area, you get to tune in with your own body's natural cycles and rhythms for peak functioning. So a lot of people push their body when they're tired, getting the emotions out of the body. Great, Claire. Yeah, relating to others better. Yes. Gaining self-control, Lewis. Yes. So being able to recognize what I'm feeling and what's going on for me gives me a choice that I don't have when I'm unself-aware. So yeah, you get less run down because you pick up on the body's signals sooner. So that means you can take remedial action sooner and avoid degradation into disease. In the relationships area, we talked about that. You can communicate and then be understood more clearly and understand others. In the success area, you make fewer mistakes because you pick up on the feedback that's happening earlier. You make better decisions. Your timing is better. You're more creative. And in the happiness area, then you find deeper self-acceptance by deepening your understanding of what and why you're feeling what you do and why you're behaving like that. So what I find often, like words like procrastination, they often create shame in us, and most of that happens because there's a deeper reason why we're procrastinating. And with greater self-awareness, we can discover what that reason is and then work with doing something to shift that situation so that we can then take the action we need to. Yes, being able to choose, says Bruce, Cynthia, sorry, and Helen respond differently. Awesome. That's great. So the second key then is developing a positive mindset. And as I mentioned already, there's two parts to this. The first one is learning to meditate, learning to calm your mind, and the mind and the body are interlinked. So when you learn to calm your mind, then your body calms down and comes into harmony and balance, right? And so this was a big thing for me when I had the anxiety and the chronic fatigue, because I didn't know how to reach a state of inner peace and focus. The second part of mastering your mindset is cultivating optimism. So optimism is having a positive focus, focusing where we want to go rather than focusing where we don't want to go. So unfortunately, a lot of people go to church and they pray for what they don't want. And they say, dear God, please don't let it rain tomorrow, because last year it rained when we had the picnic and it was terrible. So the last thing we want is more rain. And in their mind, they're just imagining rain, 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 rain. And that actually is channeling it, making it more likely that things are going to rain on the picnic. Reprogram our limitations. So one of the big limitations that I had in the early days when I was training was that running was hard work, and to be a better athlete I had to train harder. And when I learned this in 1988, I recognized that I was making my own training hard because I kept on telling myself that I had to train hard to be an elite athlete. And then once I saw that, I switched it to running is fun and easy. And so I switched that program around and I started to run along, and that was my little chant: running is fun and easy, running is fun and easy. So you could use this in your life. You could do business is fun and easy, marketing is fun and easy, relationships are fun and easy. Whatever it is where you feel stuck, you could start shifting your thinking around and it creates a different result. So I started doing running is fun and easy, and I started to run faster with less effort. And then having a success mindset. Okay, so learning to find the gift in everything, find that optimism, looking at the best side of things, really, really powerful part of being human. And my picture here of Roger Federer, you know, this guy was amazing and he's still out there. But as a teenager, he was a spoiled brat that used to throw his racket and carry on. And he now is like a Zen master on the court, and he has trained himself to do that. It's quite extraordinary and a great role model for youth and for all of us to model ourselves on. So he really, I think, epitomizes having this positive success mindset. So again, in the chat box, what do you think some of the benefits are in the health, the happiness, the success, relationships of cultivating this quantum mindset, calm mind and positive, optimistic mindset? How does that help you? As I mentioned, you know, you get to master stress and anxiety. I learned how to sleep more deeply, how to put my mind at peace and just turn it off and go to sleep. More energy and vitality. I've learned how to boost our immune system. Top spin backhand. There's a tennis player. Good on you, Barry. In our relationships, when we can calm our mind, we become more patient and kind and tolerant, less needy, more whole in ourselves. Yes, experience calmness, accelerate growth. Thanks, Cynthia. Yes, increase awareness. Yes, so we can become, we can access that subconscious mind that's going on under the surface. Helps me to be more accepting of myself and others. Yes, beautiful, and see myself in others. Yes, using affirmation to empower us, keep on moving forward. Thanks, Lewis, for being active in the chat there. Yeah, so heaps of things. We can think more clearly, our memory improves, we function more effectively, we perform at our peak. In the health area, we can boost healing by setting ourselves in this harmonious position. Be a positive force in relationships, be more attractive to be around, program your mindset for more success. Basically, the studies show that optimistic people are happier, healthier, they get on better with other people, they're more successful, and they live longer. So I reckon, why wouldn't you want to be one? And most of us probably want to be one, but we don't know all the details on how to shift that programming that we inherited. So the third key to happiness and success, then, not surprisingly, is mastering your emotions. Okay, so that doesn't mean getting rid of your emotions. It means learning how to channel your emotions so that they actually empower you to get what you want. So notice there's a little thing there. Oh, great. So yeah, there's a few dimensions to emotional mastery. The first one is agility, healing the emotions that drive our addictions and our compulsions. Really, really powerful one. They're that Roger Federer, top athlete, you know, they focus on their training, they eat a special diet, they go to bed, they're very disciplined, they don't end up watching Netflix all night or getting distracted or binging on a box of Cadbury's chocolates or whatever. You know, they have that ability to master their emotions and not be driven by the emotional turmoil that's underneath. Mastering emotions gives you the courage to start new things. So courage comes from the French word cour, meaning heart, and courage is taking action in the face of fear, right? So emotional mastery is not getting rid of the emotions, it's getting bigger than them so that they still can be there and they still happen because they will, because you're human, but actually they don't throw you off course as far as following your heart. You've learned determination, delayed gratification, often called grit. And grit now has been clearly identified as a hallmark of success. If you look up grit, I've forgotten the girl's name who does a TED talk on this. It's really fantastic. But really, it's about learning to sit with discomfort, learning how to stay relaxed and open when uncomfortable feelings are coming up, physically and emotionally. And the hot famous marshmallow test of being able to delay gratification. Also, you might want to look that up. They did these tests on kids that could refrain from eating marshmallows, and then they followed them through their life, and they found the ones that had the greatest sense of delayed gratification and didn't eat the marshmallows turned out to be more successful than those that just chomped into the marshmallows. Number 4, transform procrastination into action. So actually getting in, processing the emotion that's underlying the procrastination. Often it's fear, but it can be other things as well. And then shifting that so we can get into action. And then resilience, that bounce back, keep on going. And every single successful person has more failures behind them than successes, more setbacks, more things that have gone wrong, more rejections. And so if you want to be successful in any area at all, whether it be being the best mum or dad or business person or athlete or on the spiritual journey, you've got to deal with the setbacks, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed by them and just give up and not keep on moving forward. So emotional mastery is about processing the feelings that come up when those other things happen so that we can stay clear and keep on moving forward. And that's what we teach people. Now I've got a little circle turning up. I think there's a ghost in my computer. Here we go. So what's the benefits then? So what's the benefits of mastering your emotions? So in those 4 areas, how does that affect you? If you could do this, and maybe you've practiced this too. There's lots of people on the call that have done Passion in their life. So What happens when you master your emotions? Full of vitality. Yes, more likely to succeed. Thanks, Gary. I'm not sure, I've lost track, but peace. Anyway, so yeah, sorry if I missed you. Yeah, live more life more fully, Cynthia. Yeah, so validating and making friends with my fear and anger and sadness so that I can move forward. Yes, beautiful. So we spent 10 years running workshops, emotional healing workshops down in Horsham in the Mallee area, and helping the farmers that were going through difficult times to clear the emotions underlying their health conditions, because we were hosted by a medical doctor down there. And he used to get all of his patients in his medical practice to come and do Passionately Alive. And he was a total advocate for the amazing effect that processing the emotions under the surface has for our health and well-being. So you can accelerate your healing up to 4 times faster. John Kabat-Zinn at the Institute of Massachusetts Institute of Technology showed that when people are present in their body and process the emotion, they heal 4 times faster. You get to process the past hurts in relationships so that you can keep your heart open and stay more connected. And in the success area, I mentioned that you get to keep on moving forward, fewer mistakes, fewer resistance. And the happiness area, you open up your heart. And as Ian's got there, more fulfilling life, feeling less compulsive, Antoinette, yes. So that's a third key. These keys build on each other, and these four keys so far, and the fifth one, particularly the first 4, are the story of my personal growth journey. So I woke up in '88. I became self-aware, and I started to realize the patterns that have been running my life. I mastered my mindset was the next thing that happened. I learned how to set goals, write affirmations, creative visualize, do all the mental arithmetic that needed to be done for success. Then I learned how to master my emotions, was the next level down in my healing journey with the breath work and the emotional intelligence work. And then that led into the heart intelligence underneath. So the 4th key for happiness and success is connecting to the intelligence in your heart. So coming home to the essence of who you are is experienced through your heart. You experience peace, happiness, love, and contentment all through our heart. Often in our culture, we go looking for those things outside of us. We're in this consumer culture, and I guess that's one of the things that's been an opportunity for us in the lockdown, is when we're not doing all that stuff and we're not buying compulsively to make ourselves happy, we've had to stop. And that, that can be difficult for people. The 3 biggest challenges, I think, are anxiety, boredom, and what's the third one, Susie? Here on there. Anxiety, boredom, and loneliness is the third one. So all of those, the answer to those things is inside of us. But again, nobody has ever taught us the roadmap of how to connect into our heart. And that's what we really specialize in at the Institute of Heart Intelligence. So gaining access to inner guidance is another benefit of connecting to your heart. You get that 6th sense, that effortless flow happening. You start to plug in to the intelligence of life, and you become deeply congruent, so good things just start turning up magically in your life. And then the last piece of heart intelligence is actually living from your heart intelligence. So living from peace, living from happiness, living from love, living from a place of wholeness, and living with kindness and gratitude and generosity and compassion and so on and so on. So that's really the ultimate goal in all of the work that we do, is to come to our heart and then to live out in the world from our heart. So when you do that, what's the benefits? Thanks, Mum. In our heart is where we find God. Yes, so we connect to God through our heart, through a deep experience of connection. And God might be spirit, creation, universal intelligence, whatever it is, that's the gateway in most religions is through the heart. And in the Christian religion, we see the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And so we have that beautiful portal to connect to this divine intelligence through our heart. Thanks, Cynthia. It's great. So Cynthia is Amber's mum. So we'll have two mums and children here on one of them. So yes, living an authentic truth, life of truth, awesome. Other benefits for connecting to that heart intelligence. So we get into the flow is a really big one, experiencing flow in our life instead of struggle and challenge. We get to connect deeply with other people and really be able to be there in a place of service to living that life of significance. Yes, and it's an ultimate place for peace and calm and happiness. It's the most beautiful place that I think, and the best relationship that we can build is the one with our own heart. Feeling connection with the natural world as well. Thanks, Antoinette. Yes, that's beautiful. So with these 4 steps, we're coming into deeper and deeper relationship with life, with God, with nature, with life, with the experience of being alive. Awesome. Great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing in the chat. That's fantastic. So the last key to happiness and success is engagement. Okay, so engagement means taking action. We have an old saying around here, which is affirmation without action is delusion. So the rubber has to meet the road. All the personal growth and the inner work has to show up in our life. This is me. I'm very proud of this picture because I've got both feet off the ground. This is last August in a 5K fun run where there was about 500 people and I finished 47th, which is, I'm pretty chuffed about that since I'm turning 60 in next week. So good to be fit and alive and feeling a bit frisky there. So taking action. So really successful people have healthy habits at a daily level. They have healthy habits in the present moment and they have healthy lifestyle. Okay, so the key to actually living successfully is setting up habits that support us in being at our best. Okay, so setting up the daily rituals and so building support teams and then inspiring others, and that inspiring others thing goes around and we feel at our best when we're living up to our own values and inspiring others. And enrolling teachers and mentors that have gone before us so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So what's the benefits in these 4 areas of really committing and engaging? And over to you. So we stay balanced and in flow. We set up practices and minimize toxicity. No matter what your health is like, it gets better. Awesome. We stay fit. Fantastic. We get to earn more money. It's valid. Money makes the world goes round. That's fantastic. Stay alive with enthusiasm, Nerida. Thank you. Amber, get results, head to where we want to be. Yes, so we have to get that action happening. And really, when we develop all these 5 skills, it kind of gives us a good hiking pair of boots for life. It gives us the strength to be able to take those risks and put ourselves out there and have a go. Finally, get something done. Bruce, sustain usefulness, walk the talk, Lewis. Yes. Easier to be happier, get what you want. Fantastic, all fantastic stuff. So I want to introduce you to my coach. This is Pat Clohessy, my athletic coach from my days, who saw more in me than I saw in myself and was a constant source of support, in ways that I'm only just beginning to really appreciate fully now. I used to drive across Melbourne to pick me up on a Sunday morning and drive me up to the hills where I live now, to run through the hills and then drive me back home again, and never a fuss about it. And some of the times he'd get there and I was still in bed. And, he was just incredible man. And one of the big realizations I've had in my personal growth journey is to realize that just trying the same thing harder and expecting to get there doesn't actually work. And it's a really big trap for a lot of us, is we think, if I just keep on practicing this, if I just put a bit more effort into it, then I'm finally going to get the result that I want. But most of the time, we're just living out the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. And so we can often just stay as little isolated units and just tell ourselves, I can figure this out on my own. I don't need anyone. And like there's a weakness in that. And my question is, how's that been going for you? If you relate to this, how has that been working? So you might want to pause for a second and just think about that, And the truth is that all successful people surround themselves with a coach or advisor who can support them in what they can't see in themselves, or they don't even know that they don't know what they don't know. And so, yes, you just get to stay stuck. And there is no such thing as a self-made millionaire. That is a myth. That is just a blatant lie, really, because we all depend on thousands or millions of people every day just for breakfast, for our cereal, for our chair, for the house, for the electricity, for the milk, for the packaging, it goes on and on and on. Every day we rely on millions of people to live the life that we're living. And so there's no shame in enrolling help from others. So that's my 5 keys to success. The first one, insight and awareness. The second one, focus, the quantum mindset. The third one, developing that grit by mastering emotions. The fourth one, finding inspiration through your heart intelligence. And the fifth one is action. So the spirits have taken over my computer there, loading it up. So that's a summary of what we've just walked through. And I believe this covers the biggest 5 areas. If you want to achieve success and happiness in any area of your life, you'll find that you need to pay attention to all of those at some level. So just to dig in a little bit to EQ 101 now, I want to talk a bit about how that's all put together. So basically, the EQ 101 is all about being at your best and living a life of significance. Whether you want to find happiness, success, loving relationships, boost your health, increase your prosperity, find your purpose, EQ 101 is putting all of the best of what I've discovered and learned into a package that's easily digestible. So some of you that are here know already that you want to go on and jump into EQ 101. Some of you already have, I know that. And so I just want to mention, if you're keen to get going, you can jump over to eqtrainings.com and make sure you enter, if you're registering, the discount code EQ101-100, and that actually takes $100 off the website price for being on the webinar. So as well as that, I've got a couple of extra bonuses for the first 10 people that register, but I want to just walk you through what's in the whole program. So basically, EQ 101 is an online 2-month group coaching with me. Now, normally a session, I charge $350 per session, but in this, there's 7 sessions, right? There's 5 training modules that have a video, an audio recording, and written teaching to go with each of the modules. This is all put together on a membership site that took me 2 years to build. Comes with a total a manual that covers each of these 5 areas in each of the 5 chapters. Plus, as well as that, I've got a whole stack of recordings and playbacks. The Keys to Emotional Mastery book is included in this, my heart-centering meditations, the deep relaxation meditation, the big toe meditation, my guide for living passionately alive. Plus, the big thing that we just added in this year is we're offering 2 tickets to come to a special breakthrough workshop that we're going to run in a hotel in the city after the lockdown is over. So you're welcome to come and bring a friend, and we'll go through the practical side of how to really experience this in relationship. As well as that, there's a whole stack of bonus courses, little modules that plug into each of the 5 weeks. There's one on shifting from anger to self-assertion, from fear to courage, how to love yourself, how to connect head to heart, how to work out whether these are thoughts or feelings you're experiencing, a checklist for peak aliveness. Plus, there's also a bonus coupon for $500 discount off Passionately Alive, which actually is more than the cost of the EQ 101 training. So that means if you love the training, and everybody does, and you want to go further, then you actually get this EQ 101 training for free. So put all that together, it's about $4,000 worth of value, and the price on the website is $597. But we offer people who come to this presentation a couple of special bonuses. First of all, the first 10 people that register get a one-on-one coaching session with me for an hour. This is my standard session for that I normally charge $250 for, and that's included in there. So that's a wild card. If you get stuck or you want to work deeper through an issue, then you can book in the time and we can get together on the phone, on Zoom, or in person, and sit down and go through and take you through a clearing session. There's an overcoming overwhelm presentation, and 2 tickets to our end of year Zoom into 2021, which is a scary idea. And this is only for the first 10 people that register. And all of this is available for $497. Now, if you go to that website, eqtrainings.com, you'll see also you can sign up for a 2 or 3 pay option. So I'm really proud of this course because it makes the work that we do available to everybody. If you really want to do some emotional empowerment work, then this course is a fantastic foundational training for you. Just remember to enter that discount coupon, EQ101-100, and it takes the price down $100. There's a full money back guarantee with this, a satisfaction promise here that in 30 days, if you're not totally delighted with this course, we'll just send us an email and we'll refund what you've paid for the training. So the courses are on Wednesday nights, and they're for seven weeks. They start at 8 p.m. And here's Narelle, who did EQ 101 about 3 years ago. She'd just come out of a divorce, and she is one of the most beautiful, heart-open people that I know. And in the EQ 101, she wrote this goal, and this is actually a photo on the left there of the goal that she wrote. She says 18 months ago, there we go. She wrote this goal at the start of EQ 101, and then a couple of months ago, she sent me this photo, which is the goal achieved, which is her and her new husband in the Rocky Mountains in Canada, exactly as she'd written in the goal. She's manifested that there. So, you know, the possibilities when you get everything congruent and aligned are beyond what you can understand and imagine. This is Graham Forbes, did EQ a couple of years ago. After 3 days into the program, he sent me this little email saying that he's sleeping better, he's got more energy, he's more positive in his thoughts, he's more calm, and he's feeling terrific. At the end of the training, he's really shifted from his core. He's saying that he's learned to experience life from his heart rather than his head, and that he has this sense of being perfect just the way he is. He's learned how to set and achieve his goals. He's got a really positive aspect on life, and his relationships are going great, and he's looking forward to moving forward with the rest of his life. This is Lizzie Moore, who's now a friend of ours in Queensland. She expresses here that she wasn't sure how powerful an online course could be, but she's just letting me know here that she's actually blown away by the effects of it, that it's really starting to build momentum for her here. This is Fran Gleason, who's a Feng Shui master. She did EQ 101 a couple of years ago, and she set a goal at the start to manifest her ideal home. And for a Feng Shui master, that's not an easy ask. And she managed to find the perfect home, and she was renting then, and now she's bought the perfect home using the same skills that she's learned from us. She lives in Malmesbury now. Jennifer Stepanak did the course also. She's loved it. She sent me this lovely feedback, and it's really boosted her business on. She's got her first client happening during the program, and she's learned how to build her own course as well and really make it happen. So you can register for EQ at eqtrainings.com, and those are the bonuses. When you register, you'll be taken to the check-in page that looks like this. And just while you're thinking about that, I'll just tell you about some of the people that we're blessed to be surrounded by that have really created a life of significance. And on the left there is Bruce and Louise Wigg. Louise has done our training, and she's now a body image consultant. She helps young girls with their body image. And Bruce is in our men's group, and I've known them since before those little cherubs turned up, and coached them in their relationship, and they use the skills to help make the world a better place. Therese Ratcliffe, she's founded an Empowering Women's program. She's now working for White Lady Funerals, and she's taking the emotional intelligence work to these people that are going through grief. And people at her office are now asking her, where did you learn this? How come you can be like that with people? How can you be so amazing with them? She was telling us about that on the weekend. And there's Susie, my beautiful wife, who specializes in helping people grieve the loss of their pets, and making a real positive difference there. Ron Penrose rang me this afternoon. He shifted from a struggling sheep farmer down in the Mallee to being a thriving artist and painter, making a full-time living from painting people's portraits. He's developed his own style. He has paintings in the Archibald contest. He's been featured on Australian Story. He is a total legend and a fabulous man who found his passion and has managed to create a life out of that. There's Emily and Mark in the Millionaires Club that they founded, living their life on purpose. Lisa Peterson came and saw me. She was feeling lost and depressed, and we worked together. She set a goal to be on the front cover of a sports magazine, and within 12 months, she won the World Sports Body Modeling Championship in Florida. So she went from depressed to winning that world championship within 12 months, which is quite extraordinary. Mel and Andrew McCauley, dear friends of ours up in Queensland. Mel has a mitochondrial issue, which is where the energy is created in your cells. Her level of condition, when she goes to see a specialist, they can't understand why she's not in a wheelchair. Last year, she and her husband rode from Queensland down to Canberra, and she competed in the Australian Championships, and she won the 24-hour road cycling champion. So she is a total legend using what we've taught her. Trevor and Sue McKeon were on the brink of separating more than 15 years ago now, and they still check in every now and then for a maintenance session, and living their passion, just built a house outside of Dalesford, just loving life. Jim and Jean are absolute legends in the world. They founded this 10 kilo program in New Guinea to save the tree kangaroo that was verging on extinction. There was only 200 of those left. And they have created this program where they've changed the culture with the local people to actually treasuring this animal that they've been hunting for thousands of years. And now their programs have gone on to helping to educate these people and develop their social and health standards. And we were chatting to Jean today, and they've just won a big grant to install solar lighting in each of the huts of the village so they don't have to burn this very toxic cane for torches at night time. And so, you know, everything changed there for them, and their programs they've installed water tanks, and these people are in the field. They're not sitting in the office. They are out in the fields in New Guinea, which is a pretty wild place. They have to hike 2 or 3 days to get to these villages that they work with. They're just total legends. They just had a feature film last year come out, Into the Jungle. You might look that up and keep an eye out for that and cheer them on. They are winning international awards now. They just had a spot of tea with David Attenborough in London just recently. They're getting accolades because their programs are working. And Jean said the reason that these programs are working, which is unusual in conservation, is because they're able to connect to the local people. And obviously she uses all of the skills that we've taught her in her work to do that. Andrew Horde is the medical doctor that used to host our workshops in Horsham and has now moved to Adelaide to head up, to follow his heart and his calling as a spiritual director in the Emissaries of Life. Fran Dorcher was she was a mum just outside of Stawell, full-time mum, and her passion was quilting, patchwork quilting, and she went on, followed her heart, did a textile design course, and then sent me this email saying that she's winning all these prestigious awards. Anne Hubbard is a breathwork person who specialises in emotional intelligent parenting. And she's doing lectures and presentations all around the world these days, making a big difference. These are some of the people in our community. We are very blessed. You can see the light shining through from everybody here. We have fabulous people. It's a bit of a fringe benefit from teaching open-hearted living is that we get to surround ourselves with lovely people. So if you want to come and join us on EQ 101, you become part of our community, and there's always people that you can reach out to for support that will you know, they will go the extra mile to connect with you and to help you, to hear you, and to give you some really great support in helping you to keep on moving forward with your life. So this is all about living your life at a higher level, whether it's health, success, relationships, prosperity, finding your purpose. Okay, so really want to encourage you to come and join us. This is Mark Bramender, who came down to the session with me. He said he was stuck in his life. He's tired of traveling the same well-trodden tracks. And what we did was we worked on his inner game. We didn't do any marketing for him or any business development. I just helped him to get clear and congruent inside. He goes home and he sends me an email the next week that the jobs are literally flying in the door. So the message of this slide for me is that success and happiness is about our inner state that then shows up in the world outside of us. And if you're just working hard in the world outside, but you're not staying clear and congruent inside, you're just making your life very hard work and you're not going to get where you want to go. You need to do both. You need to be taking action in the world, but you need to be clear and congruent on these 4 or 5 levels that we've been talking about tonight. So I thought for those that are still on the call that I'd open up a sneak peek into the EQ 101 membership site and just give you a peek into what it actually looks like in there. So This is how it looks inside. You've got pre-work, each of the 5 modules is there. There's a bonus module. There's all the bonuses that I mentioned, the tickets to Passionately Live and the chat forum. Each week comes with a short video. This is like 5 minutes or so, welcome from me about the theme. And then there's like a 1-hour teaching on that theme. So this first week is about developing emotional literacy and self-awareness. And then there's lots of text there. You can read through that. And then there's a couple of home play things to do to implement what you're learning this week for each of the modules. Then there's put in a last couple of years of recordings as well. There's a little checklist so that you can tick off the things that you've got to do this week, make it really easy for you. There's chapter 1 in the manual. There's a couple of articles you can read. So, you know, it's all packed in here. And then the bonuses, there's a couple of articles and audio teaching on learning to make the distinction between what you're thinking and what you're feeling, which is really empowered. I've put in the recordings of the last couple of years of this first module as well. If you're super keen, you can go there. So that's the kind of standard layout for each of the modules. It's all done for you. This is, for me, a really easy course to deliver because I've put it all together so well, and it's very, very easy to follow. So that's what it looks like in there. If you want to register, you can jump over to eqtrainings.com. And I just realized that I didn't check on the sharing the screen, but I'm gathering that you can see the screen. So everything that we've talked about tonight is on this page. You just need to scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the place to register down there somewhere. There we go. So there's the registration button. So jump over there, put the discount code EQ101-100 in, and you're on your way. And it's next Thursday night that we have our Jumpstart first gathering and introduction to this. So yes, thank you for joining me on this presentation. It's been great. Thank you for the chat and the appreciation there. If you've got any questions, you can email me at nicholas@eq.net.au. It's probably on all of the emails that you've got. So just send that back. Susan's put in the URL and the discount code. So we'll love to have you with us. This is a life-changing training, 7 weeks. It's a workshop. It's a program. It's a coaching program. It's not pre-recorded. I'm there live in every one of the sessions, and I will go and stay with you for as long as we need to go to make sure that you get the breakthrough that you're looking for. And so we have, as I've shown you, heaps and heaps of people that have done this before and just love it. So can't do much more, but except that thank you for being here tonight on the presentation, and wish you health and happiness, and that you might thrive in your life. Lots of love. Good night. Thank you for your appreciation.